A lot of attention on Seoul right now, and yet South Korea is no stranger to declarations of martial law. There's been at least 2 military coups with long-term service in terms of leading the countries, and yet it was for the purpose of cracking down on pro-democracy during those military kind of administrations. Get us caught up to speed about whether you think there's going to be a successful impeachment vote next week, Wednesday here.
Yeah, what a crazy week. Now, this is a good reminder that this is a country, South Korea is a country that is a very young democracy. And certainly there are many older South Koreans who would have remembered an era of when you saw troops in the streets, you had martial law where your rights and your freedoms were restricted. But it's been decades. And I would say most South Koreans, young South Koreans, will have been completely taken aback by this and confused. And I thought it was so interesting. I saw an article that said that the most searched term in the 24 hours after that short-lived martial law was the term martial law in South Korea. So Koreans just getting online to try to understand what this meant. I think it's also a reminder that this is a democracy that is tenacious and that people are very willing to go into the streets to defend. So it's been interesting watching the people take to the streets, standing up to the troops and really defending their right to democracy, this hard-won democracy that is very young but very resilient.
You know, Jean, something that's come out recently in the media reporting within the last day is the following. Yoon created a list of enemies, and that's very familiar to us here. We've heard about a list of enemies for Donald Trump, Kash Patel, and others. This arrest list created by Yoon, he gave it to his director of national intelligence, said, arrest, clean everything up, and I'll give you the ability to support a counterintelligence probe with funds and personnel unconditionally. That list included the opposition party leader, Lee Jae-myung. I mean, Jean, we're drawing a lot of parallels in the United States to what's happening right now in South Korea. Are those fair parallels to be drawn?
South Korea, like the United States, has a very polarized political landscape. These two parties are always at each other's throats. And you know, I was woken up here in Hawaii at 4 in.the morning when this order came down for martial law. You know, your phone starts going off and you immediately think something's happening with North Korea. When I saw what this was, it was mind-blowing because really this is about a political fight between two leaders, between two parties. And I think what we're starting to see is the people rising up and saying, no, we want to have a say in this. Now, I did immediately. So I was in Seoul watching January 6th unfold in 2021. And now I'm in the United States watching this unfold in South Korea. I did make that parallel because there was that moment where I thought, is this the moment where democracy cracks? And so there are some interesting parallels, I think, when you have these two very polarized parties who are out for blood. We're going to see that in South Korea, and I'm afraid that this is just we are in the middle of massive political upheaval, because unlike what I'm not so sure that we saw people in the streets. Of course, it was a time of COVID when January 6th happened. But for South Korea, they have a history of going into the streets to protest. It's almost like a party if you've seen some of those demonstrations before. They mobilize quickly, and they are very organized, and they are going to stay in the streets no matter how cold it is to voice their displeasure with how things are unfolding.
Always makes me proud to be a South Korean. Jean H. Lee, you make me proud to be a South Korean as well. Thank you so much for lending your insight today. We appreciate you very much.